The Women's Fund for Scotland is Scotland's only dedicated fund for women and girls. I'm Susan Morrison, and this is our podcast where we talk to inspiring women improving the lives of those women and girls today. In this episode, Chand tells us how a badly worded diagnosis led her to set up PCOS Relief to stop other women suffering the same way she did. Let me just get this right, because I have a friend who pronounces this PCOS.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that as PCOS?
So we would say PCOS, but we would also just say it as PCOS, is the short form of Polycystic Ovary Syndrome. So it was more known for PCOS, but PCOS, same as. More than happy for you to say PCOS, PCOS, or Polycystic Ovary Syndrome.
I'm quite lucky. Well, I'm not, because that's not. I've not suffered from that. But could you just give us a wee bit of a background of what the syndrome is?
So PCOS is a hormonal reproductive disorder that affects how a female's ovaries should function. So it means that females will have irregular periods, but also it means that it's got links with other health conditions such as obesity, health diseases, strokes, type 2 diabetes, as well as less serious. So it could be, for example, acne. It could be the loss of hair, especially obviously with its connection with mental health, and also excess of hair growth and stuff like that. So it's a condition that affects your ovaries, but also has got links with long-term health conditions.
And your organisation is called PCOS Relief.
Yeah.
So how do you bring relief to someone?
So I myself is diagnosed with the condition, and I had a 6 years battle to what I was then diagnosed. At the time of being diagnosed, I wasn't diagnosed the way that I would have appreciated to be diagnosed. I was diagnosed in a very unsafe in terms of the terminology used. And I think the terminology and the way that I was diagnosed left me feeling it really impacted my mental health. And to one point, I did get into the suicidal phase. And that's when I then decided I want to make a charity to support females diagnosed with this condition, because it couldn't just be me, the only one person diagnosed with this condition. So the reason why I added relief is because I feel the services that we provide, but once you start speaking about your condition, the relief you feel is so much more than suffering on your own. So the services that we want to do, everything that we want to do, we want to provide a positive relief on that. So I think it's so important to say PCOS relief, because there's support there. There's something that will take the burden or the depression or the uncertainty away.
See, I'm so impressed by that, Chandler. You were diagnosed with something. And it doesn't sound like a very good way it was done. But instead of just going, right, that's fine, I'm away, I'll go and deal with it, you decided, no, I'm going to change the world.
Yeah. Because I just felt like there's more needs to be done. What I'm going through, somebody else is going through that. There's 1 in 10 females diagnosed with this condition. There's 1 in 5 within ethnic minority females. And over 70% of cases are undiagnosed worldwide, according to WHO. And that's not good enough.
70%?
70% of cases are undiagnosed, just because this condition has no cause and no cure. So there's not a reason to say why this condition exists. There's nothing to say that, oh, by the way, because your mum or your grandma, there's nothing in the DNA, there's nothing to say why. Solid proof. There are some, research to say this could have caused it, that could have caused it, but nothing certain to say this is why you have been diagnosed or why you have the condition. And there's no cure, but there is management.
Would you say that's what PCOS Relief is about getting the information out there and supporting women with this condition?
So PCOS Relief, I would say, is I established alongside my board members a charity that we wanted to bring meaning to females. We understand that females diagnosed with this condition is not the same as another female diagnosed with this condition. Because typically what happens when a female goes in to see a GP or a healthcare professional, they are seen to say, well, you've got PCOS, so everything that you're coming in for is relating to your PCOS, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
So we wanted to provide, or I wanted to certainly, being the founder and a self-lived experience female, is one, make a charity that was fit for all. And I never wanted to put any cost into the services, because I feel that one, language shouldn't be a barrier and finance shouldn't be a barrier to seeking services. So in regards to PCOS, we've got 4 main services. The first one is weight management classes that supports in terms of like a 12-week program where a member undergoes activities in terms of weight management activities to support their physical health. Then we've got diet nutrition. So then again, that supports them in terms of what type of food can you eat, what is suitable for you to eat that, as well as managing your PCOS journey in terms of your relationship with food. We then got comfort talk, and I named this because I found comfort in talking. So that supports your mental health and well-being. And then we've got monthly steering group, and that is an online platform where our members come online and they are able to access an online platform, discuss with other members in terms of their condition, have a platform of friendship, but also peer support, as well as a host come on and talk about a topic, and they've got that access, whether it's a dietitian or a gynecologist or somebody senior that can provide them support. We then also do the educational workshops, which is fantastic because that allows our members come in person, and that's just a different feeling altogether when you're seeing events being happening in person, because it takes away the online, it makes it more real and more personalized. But what I would say is PCOS Relief focuses on the three main areas, and that's the advancement of health, education, and supporting females from the ethnic minority community.
You're breaking down walls, aren't you? Because a lot of women live with this in silence. And they just put up with it.
Sometimes people actually don't know what is a menstrual cycle. For me, I thought that not having a period was normal. I actually never knew that once I had my first period, I was meant to have a menstrual cycle every month. So we're not taught what is a menstrual cycle. We're not taught what is a healthy period, what is an abnormal period. And this is something that we do in our organization. We actually take it right from the beginning and say, by the way, this is a menstrual cycle, this is an abnormal menstrual cycle, and this is what a menstrual cycle should be. I mean, a lot of females don't actually realize that periods shouldn't be painful, but it is. And if it's extremely painful, then you should really seek to speak to a healthcare professional. But how much educated are we about our periods?
No.
Very little. And I sometimes say females are seen as, they like to talk, they like to have a blather with their friends and stuff. But how often do we actually say to our friends, oh, by the way, I never came on my period, before thinking we're pregnant? But actually, you've got a condition that restricts you from actually coming on your menstrual cycle.
You still get a lot of silence around it.
But especially when we take it from the ethnic minority background, it's like, this is something that would never be spoken about. Because imagine going to your mum that is very traditional, or your sister, or somebody saying, I'm not getting my period. When at the time of being diagnosed, it took away me feeling as a female, because I felt like if I can't conceive, or if I'm going to struggle, then what is my purpose as a female? That's the way that time of being diagnosed made me feel. And hence why I fell into depression, suicide, and everything like that.
Oh, I'm so glad that there's relief there for you, even if you had to set up for yourself. But just turning to the Women's Fund for Scotland, so you got some funding. What did it allow you to do?
So the funding, which I'm very, very grateful, it allowed us to connect with our members in person. It allowed us to connect with communities across Scotland, so in areas like Falkirk, Stirling, Inverness, and Aberdeen. Now, what it allow us to do is, in the educational workshop, it allowed us to improve their physical health and well-being. It also allowed us to improve their mental health as well. And it also allowed us to forefront the condition within a safe environment. So it allowed us to meet with them in person and actually allow them to have a safe space where they can ask questions, but also educate themselves about their condition. So if it was relating to them, so for example, we had females from the Muslim community, so they were able to ask questions, something that they probably wouldn't be able to ask their GP about, even their dietary requirements. During Ramadan, a festival like that, they were able to ask direct individual questions relating to them and their ethnic minority, to be able to do that. And the feedback we've got is fantastic. We had females that were able to have the confidence to actually say, by the way, I'm not getting my period. This is what's going on with me. This is how my relationship has gotten worse with my partner, because we don't actually have the education about this condition.
So that must be quite amazing for them to finally be able to speak to someone. I mean, how do women find you? I mean, I don't think recruiting is quite the right word, but how do women find PCOS Relief?
So we were very fortunate to host an event in the Scottish Parliament last year, which was fantastic. We were able to host a roundtable event, and I think from there we were able to, one, highlight the work that we do in Scotland. But from there, we were able to go on the NHS Inform website. So we are listed on there under the Polycystic Ovary Syndrome on the information, which is fantastic. But what we've been able to do actively as a charity, we've been able to contact GP surgeries, and we've been able to work with healthcare professionals as well within the NHS. So I feel as a charity, one, we're providing support, but we need to be providing the right support. For me, it's terminology is so important. So having people or healthcare professionals that are equally passionate but providing the right information is so important for me as a founder, but also as a self-lived experienced person. So what we like to do is we like to obviously the NHS Inform, we like to contact GP surgeries, we like to speak to universities as well. So we like to do a lot of collaboration with universities, especially with the undergraduate students, because generally that's the age where they're looking more so to get diagnosed of the condition as well. And then we do a lot of social media as well. So our social media is quite up to date, I would like to say, in terms of giving facts, information, and everything like that. And the work that we do as well, we like to promote the work that we do in order to connect with females that potentially may be diagnosed, unsure if they're diagnosed or if they are diagnosed.
It's really important to get those young women, even if they do speak to their friends won't know what it is either.
No,
they
no.
need good, reliable sources of information. I think that's absolutely fantastic. So you actually must see women going through your organisation and see real improvement in the way that they're living. That must be wonderful.
Do you know what really sticks with me? Somebody said to us that we're faster than the NHS. We're a godsend.
Oh.
And personally, the people that supports me, they get called an angel. And for me to hear that for an organization that I set up, I honestly, truly feel blessed. I started the organization to make a difference, and the difference that I'm seeing, I'm truly overwhelmed. And the feedback and the members, we're currently supporting 2,500 females UK-wide. We've got over 400 members in Scotland that has got this condition that we are supporting.
That is amazing. But it's what now, Chand? It's one thing dealing with the women who come to PCOS Relief. The professionals, how did you get on with them?
So working with professionals, the people that support us are fantastic. But there's one thing that I would want to say is, as a charity, we're really working hard to change the terminology used when diagnosing a female, and also the training in terms of when to diagnose a female. So right now, you need to wait 2 years before getting diagnosed with PCOS. And that's 2 years after your first period. And in that 2 years, so much can go wrong.
Oh, gosh, yes.
From normal to then obesity, in terms of weight, for example. You could be normal mental health to really deteriorate mental health in 2 years. We don't allow that to happen. We have supporting services through obviously the services that we provide, so that we can provide them the support in the meantime if they show 2 symptoms of the PCOS. So if you've got 2 symptoms, so whether that's irregular periods and obesity, then you're more likely to be diagnosed of polycystic ovary syndrome. So we have supporting services that can support them in the meantime for managing their mental health until they get that diagnosis. We're working very closely, and that's providing training to healthcare professionals that we do, because it's so important that they understand that the way of being diagnosed, or the way that is currently being diagnosed, is unacceptable, is not appropriate. And this is not just my personal experience, it's every member that has came to our organization to say this is the way we were diagnosed. And it's not good enough, because it's not good enough to link this condition with infertility, because you can't say to a female, you may struggle to conceive or you may not conceive until they're at that stage of conceiving. It's sad because we had a very young member, and she was diagnosed, and bearing in mind she was under 16 years old, and she was told that she was going to struggle to conceive. And that's not appropriate. And just because this condition is linked to infertility, I don't think you should be using that in terms of in your diagnosis. To one point, obviously her mother was doing the consultation with us, and she said that her daughter said that she just doesn't want to try then.
Oh.
you shouldn't tell a female that unless they've been through the whole stage, IVF, fertility treatments, what's available for them. You then have that conversation with them.
Do you find that the healthcare professionals are now more open to hearing from people like yourself?
They are more welcoming to hearing from us, but I think it is a long process, if I'm going to be honest. I don't want to tarnish them all, because the people that supports us, I'm very, very grateful for them. We are able to provide medical information on the basis of the people, the professionals that supports us. So one, I'm grateful for them, but two, they've also acknowledged that more needs to be done on the medical front of things, because also professors have stated that females with PCOS are fat shamed against the NHS because of it's linked with obesity. I just don't think that's acceptable. It's very sad the way that females are treated with PCOS, and hence why I'm grateful for the work that we do, hence why I'm grateful for the funding that we receive, because as an organisation, we're able to turn that around and provide the support services.
You are reaching out not just to women who have PCOS, but you seem to be impacting on all kinds of other organisations as well. And I was wondering, like, do you like a wealth of information for them then?
We are a wealth of information for them, because what we feel is PCOS is obviously a condition that is a hormonal reproductive disorder, but it's got links with other conditions. For example, heart diseases, strokes, type 2 diabetes. There's also a 10% chance of you developing endometriosis. Then you've got the stages of perimenopause, menopause as well. So as an organisation, we like to venture out and do collaborations or partnerships with other organisations that fit with PCOS, because bearing in mind, PCOS is a condition that you're born with, and then it never goes. You've got it. It's just dependent on how you manage it. So for a female, you go through every stage of your life, and whether that's just PCOS and menopause, we have to be providing those services to support those females. If we're going to provide a service, it's so important that we start right and we finish right.
And working with the Women's Fund for Scotland, you find it useful as well that there's sort of like, there's not just the funding, but networking opportunities and mentoring?
You know what is I think it's fantastic to be able to have a funding partner that is not just all about the funding, it's also about providing the support, because us as a charity, we want to be doing it right. And for us to do it right is we need to be working with, for example, the Women's Fund for Scotland. And I think it's fantastic, the networking opportunity, because it allows us as a charity to raise the profile for partnership, continuing for funds. You know what I like with Women's Fund for Scotland is every time I've been able to raise a question or a query, I've always been answered in the most lovely way. There's not just been an email just with the answer. It's always been more than that. It's more than, and it's also nice to get involved in things that's going on as well. And I think that's really nice.
So it looks like, sadly, PCOS Relief isn't going to go away anytime soon.
No.
You're going to be busier than ever, I think, because it's still a condition that's not understood.
No, I know.
And there are still women who don't even know they've got it, as you explained. And so more women that find out, then you're going to be so busy, Jan, honestly.
But I'm grateful, though. I'm very, very grateful, because I feel that there needs to be an organisation like that. And hence why I'm so keen to be working with other organisations, because when it comes to women's health, we really do need to stand as a union, and we really do need to forefront the need for better awareness and better support and services. And whether that's from PCOS Relief or other organisations, I'm more than happy to advocate women's health in general, because I think it's so important.
So can I just ask you a question, which is, do you sometimes find that there are other women who go, you shouldn't be talking about this sort of thing?
Sometimes do feel it, if I'm going to be very honest, especially from the healthcare professional side of things, because sometimes they don't have the answers, and sometimes it doesn't fit the project. But if I don't ask the questions, then who will ask the questions? And if you're not going to fit it in this project, then I hope you fit it in your next project. I'll follow that up with yourself, or I will ask them to have a meeting with myself and say, is this something that we can do within our charity organisation, and then take it forward from there.
Excellent. I know things are not great, but I'm delighted to see that somebody out there is trying to change things for the better. Thanks so much, Shand.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us and listening to this story. I hope you've been inspired. And if you would like to support the Women's Fund for Scotland, search for us online and listen out for our other podcast episodes.